Hello, welcome back. We are four struggling filmmakers. My name's Emma. Joined with me back after our break, we have James.
It's me. Hello.
We have Noah.
Hello.
And we have Jimmy.
Hello.
Yes, that is right. We took a week's break, but we are back. Don't forget to make sure you subscribe so you know when we do take another break. If we do, that's when we're going to be back. Do we have any recommendations this week? We've had a week off. What we've been watching?
I finally finished off Twin Peaks: The Return.
Ooh.
It was really good, obviously. I don't know who's seen it here. I think it's just Jimmy. It was really good, isn't it, Jimmy?
It is, although I'm not sure it gets the balance of surreal and soap opera quite right. The original show was like 70% soap opera, 30% weird, and this is like completely flipped it the other way.
I prefer it that way.
Really?
We spoke about this in our very first episode. I finally got round to watching the original Candyman because it's now on Netflix. So I would recommend everyone goes checks it out. Didn't feel let down. The old tale of Cabrini Green. It put a lot of things in context as well and made me even more excited for whenever the next Candyman comes out.
James must have a recommendation. It is the law.
Oh,
it's been a week. He must have seen the entire film.
Yeah, I got two recommendations. One of them being a series of films, and then the other one being not a film. Start off with the series of films. This actually is just a plug for my film Twitter again, because I'm doing Vampire Week, or weeks, it's 2 weeks really, where I'm watching just a bunch of vampire films I haven't seen before. I'm reviewing them all. I've watched Lost Boys, the original Dracula from 1931. I watched Blade, that was fun. So yeah, and I've still got more to go. So by the time this episode's up, there's going to be a bunch of reviews on there, and I'll probably have a few more, and then I'll finish. Check it out if you want, at J Harrison Film. I can edit this in now. Boom. Second recommendation, I'm recommending a special on Netflix. So Bo Burnham, who is one of my favourite comedians, has just uploaded his new, it's not necessarily just a comedy special, it's like a musical comedy documentary-esque thing on Netflix, and I think it's absolutely phenomenal, and you should just go in blind.
I'm trying to think what to recommend. I've seen a lot in the 2 weeks we have been away. I've seen A Quiet Place for the first time. I've seen A Quiet Place 2 for the first time. Both absolutely brilliant. Definitely recommend. I prefer the second one, but the first one's better. That's my objective opinion. I watched Highlander for the first time in probably 15 years yesterday. Really fun film. Christopher Lambert, Sean Connery, Clancy Brown. What more could you want?
Noah, what are we talking about this week?
We are talking about the soundtracks.
Wait, what was that? Was that the opening to Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin?
We're doing our favourite scores, I think, of, yeah, that's it.
We're looking more into the audible side of things this time.
Well, I deliberated a lot actually over this because I've got a lot of favourite soundtracks, but I picked this one because it's a bit different to everyone else's. It is a 1981 film, a debut film from a director called Michael Mann, and the film is called Thief. So the soundtrack is by the German group Tangerine Dream. They are an electronic sort of group. The main guy's name is Peter Froese. Might be butchering it. So they do these soundtracks of their electric feel, and this is probably my favourite because it is the most 80s soundtrack in the world, but that's not why it's the best, because it goes so well with this film. And the film is about James Caan. He plays a very successful sort of gangster. He robs jewels. He basically gets into a deal with like a proper high class mobster. Without spoiling too much, it sort of shows the dynamic between those two and their dealings. It starts off with like a 10-minute song of like this like synthy music just going as like you get to see Frank and his crew perform a heist. Probably the best bit of the soundtrack is something called the beach scene, which is where you sort of had this synthy sort of crescendo coming of like building up, and then you see this scene of which Frank's doing his biggest score ever, and it's zooming into James Caan's face, and he's filthy and he's exhausted, he's tired, and then it cuts to him on the beach with his partner, all enjoying life, and the music is all so joyful and wonderful because you realise that he's just scored his biggest score ever and he's got loads of money and he's happy, and it works so well. It's such a brilliant cut, especially with the music. Some say it's as good as the Stanley Kubrick 2001 cut. So it's not just Tangerine Dream that contributes to this soundtrack. And there's a song at the end called The Confrontation by a bloke called Craig Safban. The story goes that Michael Mann wanted the ending to sort of have a sort of comfortably numb sort of guitar solo. Well, he wanted that one, but he couldn't get the rights to it or whatever. So he asked this bloke, Craig, if he could come up with something similar, and he did. It's this wonderful piece of sort of electric guitar music that is just, wow, it's like the comfortably numb guitar solo, and it just ends with this wonderful piece of music as you see Frank, without again spoiling it, just walking off into the distance for some reason or another. A beautiful way to tie up the story with a beautiful piece of music.
I didn't know that's why they chose that for the music, because it sounds like comfortably numb. But man, does it bookend that scene and the film brilliantly. It's a really thoughtful, like almost droning, powerful, bassy bit of music that somehow encapsulates the struggle and the hope that James Caan's character has, all in one amazing bit. Because the film is very much a one last job film, isn't it? It's that typical gangster, I want out, I've been doing this life too long, I want a fresh start. And it's a, well, tough, you've got to do one last job. But as we all know, it's never just one last job. Noah, would the film Drive exist without Thief? Because I doubt it. I think there's so much.
They're very similar, yeah.
I think even the soundtracks, I know Drive is a lot of different people, but it's that synthy, indie-tronica type stuff. I think it owes a lot to the decade and definitely to this film, which is an unsung, unseen gem from the 1980s.
I'll just add as well to your sort of analysis of the final song. I think it's like a sort of like letting everything out. Like it's like a breath of fresh air for Frank. He's ended in some way, and now he can step into a different world. Again, we'll try not to spoil it, although I think some people can kind of get what we're getting at there. Tangerine Dream, they were brilliant composers. You had the Sorceress soundtrack as well, which is really good.
I didn't really
like Risky Business, if anyone's seen that with Tom Cruise. James has mentioned a film earlier that they did.
Yeah, it was Near Dark. It's by Catherine Bigelow, vampire movie. It was not good, but music was all right.
They also did the Grand Theft Auto 5 soundtrack as well.
It's a lot of the music that plays sort of during gameplay, isn't it?
Yeah.
Almost background music, as opposed to so much specific tracks within cutscenes and stuff. I think I'm right in saying, aren't I?
Yeah.
And it sounds very much like bits of their Thief soundtrack as well.
Well, you can make an argument that all their music sort of sounds the same as something else, really.
Yeah, it's true. Well, GTA 5 owes a lot to Michael Mann. Michael Mann isn't a director a lot of other directors references. Of course, a lot of this stuff I learned from Michael Mann. He doesn't have that same prestige, which is a shame because he really is a top class filmmaker.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know is it the types of films he made? Maybe he's known for the crime genre, but it's like, well, Michael Mann's crime films are good, but they're not Scorsese. For some reason, he doesn't have that gravitas that Scorsese had. I think Last of the Mohicans is one of the greatest films ever made. But hey, that's just my opinion, bro.
That's not even a crime film, is it?
It's not even a crime film at all. No, he's had a massively varied career. He's most known for his crime films. He made Miami Vice, the TV series, of course.
Yeah.
That's very in now, isn't it? That whole sort of synth wave and everything. And if you want to listen to a classic piece of that, let's listen to the soundtrack for this. You'll love it.
Thank you, Noah, for talking about Thief, which came out in the year of our Lord 1981. We're going to jump back a whole 1 year in time. But we're going to change a bit of scenery, a bit of genre, skip on over, across the pond, as it were, to Italy and the horror genre. We're going to look at a film that I've been waiting for an excuse to talk about, which is, of course, Cannibal Holocaust. More importantly, its soundtrack, composed by the one, the only, Ortolani. The soundtrack for Cannibal Holocaust is, to say the very least about it, an incredibly varied soundtrack. It covers a lot of different tempos of music, almost in different genres. But the main track that stands out is, of course, the Cannibal Holocaust main theme. That is just one of the most enchantingly beautiful bits of music that has ever been composed for a film, which is really bizarre. So the film opens with these helicopter shots of the Amazon rainforest, which is almost certainly stock footage and not something that Ruggero Deodato, who directed Cannibal Holocaust, would have paid for. It comes in with this very soft guitar, and then this equally soft synth music comes in. It really is this tonally incongruent bit of relaxing music. Apparently Ritz Ortolani did this because he said, I wanted the music to be the complete opposite of the visual imagery, certainly for that scene anyway. So he wanted this really nice, beautiful bit of music to make this juxtaposition really with the graphic stuff that we're about to see. But I think it works really well. I think it sets up this dichotomy that we're going to see about the film. I'll explain the plot of Cannibal Holocaust to the 99% of you in the audience who have not watched it. Cannibal Holocaust is about 4 filmmakers in the Amazon rainforest who will stop at nothing to get the most visceral bit of film possible. And in this region of the Amazon rainforest, it's known for basically these cannibal tribes, although when they get there basically aren't very many cannibal tribes. So these 4 filmmakers start doing more and more terrible things to make something interesting for the camera. The film is very much about these 2 sides of man, the beautiful side of man, and there's a lot of beautiful imagery in this film, particularly with scenery. It's like man in nature, but also the dark depths, what's the lowest we can sink to. The soundtrack encompasses this dichotomy between the beautiful of man and its want for destruction. Basically, there's 2 important bits of music on the soundtrack. You've got the main theme, which is a really beautiful, nice, meandering bit of music. And the second one is the track called Adulteress's Punishment, which is this almost Thief-esque, dark, gritty, grungy, industrial sounding, boomy bit of synth music. And it is that contrast with that bit of music to the main theme. I think this film's a masterful piece of art. Honestly, I really do. I think it's so thoughtful. I think it's exploring massive themes about what it is to be human and our obsession with beauty and death at the same time, and how those 2 things can be linked in many ways. And I think the music is a big part of what makes the film work so well.
In terms of the music, it's really weird, because if you just listen to the soundtrack without obviously typing in Cannibal Holocaust, so you don't know the film, and you listen to the soundtrack, it's really relaxing.
In the right mood. Honestly, the main theme is such a beautiful bit of music.
Good.
It just make me cry on demand. It's so above and beyond what it needs to be.
Is it your cornerstone
of my career? Yes. It's what made me the content writer that I am today.
I know that James has a lot to say about the soundtrack.
For me?
Yeah, James.
Yeah.
You're in it now.
I don't have a lot.
No, you wanted to make a comparison.
I haven't got a lot to say.
He wants to talk about some synth stuff.
I just want to talk about the synth. I wanted to talk to Mr. Jimmy and Mr. Noah. Which do you think suits the films more?
Well, because technically, like Jim said, Ritz Ortolani wanted... Well, no, he didn't want to do something different. Was it the director wanted something completely polarizing?
I think it was a mutual collaboration.
And, well, that kind of works. Whereas with my soundtrack, I guess they're not really that polarizing.
I think the big difference between the 2 is that, as you said, no, Thief does have this underlying upliftingness about it. I was going to say the big difference between the 2 is that Cannibal Holocaust doesn't have that. But the main theme is incredibly uplifting. But I would say the rest of the soundtrack is less so, definitely. Adulteress's Punishment is one of the darkest bits of music, put to celluloid, I would say.
Potentially, I could see what Noah was saying, how Noah's fits better with the actual story.
Yeah.
Whereas Cannibal Holocaust, it fits in the way that it shouldn't fit. But if you're comparing the 2, then obviously Thief soundtrack fits better.
Yeah.
You can't really say which one's better because they're both different contexts.
I would say that Tangerine Dream's Thief soundtrack is more consistently good. I would say the 2 main tracks from Cannibal Holocaust are bloody brilliant, but there are some tracks on the soundtrack that are not quite so good.
All right. There's only one way to find out who's best. To buy the Thief vinyl on Amazon, it's £36.80.
There is one Cannibal Holocaust LP vinyl from Ortolani available on Amazon, brand new, £139.12.
Oh,
it is very much a collector's item, my friend.
Jimmy, where does it rank?
I wanted to talk about it this week. It is not my number one soundtrack of all time. It probably is in the top 5. It's probably about number 5. Number 1 is hands down, without a doubt, what I would say is one of the greatest bits of art ever made, which is the soundtrack to Once Upon a Time in the West, which accompanies the joint greatest film ever made, Once Upon a Time in the West.
But why didn't you pick that for this week?
Because I didn't want to talk about Ennio Morricone. I feel like the whole world's talked about Ennio Morricone. It's such a it would have been great to talk about because it's such a varied soundtrack. So everybody has their own leitmotif in that film. But I want to talk about Cannibal Holocaust because I've just been waiting for a chance to talk about Cannibal Holocaust. Look, for all you people, most of you probably haven't seen Cannibal Holocaust. A lot of you might not have the stomach for it. Don't feel like you have to watch Cannibal Holocaust. It's not for everyone. A lot of people who do watch it hate it, don't see the art in it. But what you can give a go is the soundtrack. So whack it on Spotify, hit the Cannibal Holocaust main theme. I think you'll be feeling 0.5% better.
All right, so now moving on to a film I think most people have probably seen, The Incredibles, one of my favourite animated films, if not my favourite ever. I think it's fantastic. I think it's incredible. Boom. That's all I need to say. I'm done. So as with many animated films, especially like Pixar as well, they heavily rely on music to extenuate the actions of going on screen a bit. And I think The Incredibles, aside from being an incredible movie, wouldn't be as good as it is, and it's very good regardless, if it didn't have the music and soundtrack that it does. The Incredible soundtrack was done by Michael Giacchino, who's done most things nowadays. He's very good at what he does, and I think this is his best work personally. And fortunately, he didn't even get many awards for it, which I think sucked, because this is, it really gets you going. It's so good. Bombastic, brass orchestra. It's like 60s retro futurism coolness. They lined up John Barry, who did on His Majesty's Secret Service.
He did all the Bond.
And he actually scored the trailer for it, but he actually dropped out in the end because he didn't want to do something that was too similar to his previous work. So they brought in Michael Giacchino to kind of like replicate in a way the style that he was going for, and I think he just nailed it completely. A lot of the tracks in the soundtrack are intertwined with the scenes themselves. You can definitely tell that the film was made and then they used the music to help build those scenes up even more. Instruments and tempos which correlate with stuff that's happening on screen. Some of the best ones, especially I think like the opening section where it's just the glory days of superhero, they have a lot of like great little bits within the music itself to like help the action along. There is a video that I will link, I think, in the description, which helps show like some of the sheet music, and it's got like stuff written down about how certain parts of the music are shown on screen and it's shown throughout the music as well. I think it's really cool.
Nice.
And then I get to probably one of my favorite scenes in animation, directly halfway through this film, and it has the best music. Oh my god. So the track is called Kronos Unveiled, which is basically, it's the scene where he goes to the big computer and finds out that all of the superheroes are being killed, and it's got that like slowly building tension music behind it with like the brass instruments, and then you got like the woodwind instruments, and then all the lights turn on and the tension builds and it builds and it builds, and it just ends in such a crescendo, and it's so good. It's so good. Goosebump inducing stuff. I love it. And also another little trivia bit for you. The whole soundtrack uses a lot of brass instruments, and brass apparently sounds better on analog tapes. So Giacchino chose to record the entire soundtrack on analog tapes to help it sound better.
Ooh.
I'm not sure what that means.
That's quite nice.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
I really like the Incredible soundtrack. I think it owes a lot to the Mission Impossible theme, doesn't it? The original.
Yes.
Who was that? Lalo Schifrin, who later did the music for Dirty Harry, of course.
Oh.
Jazz musician. No, bombastic is the right word for it, mate. It is incredibly bombastic, incredibly uplifting. What a way to use an orchestra to full effect.
What I also like about it is I think the soundtrack is like an hour long, and the film is 2 hours long. And I noticed when I rewatched it today that it really knows when and when not to use its music.
Yeah.
I think it's a very interesting thing, because a lot of times soundtracks are like just sort of background music for a scene where it doesn't really need it. Whereas this, it helps, but as I said, it helps build up certain scenes even more. When I was just watching it, I totally forgot. It was the plane scene where there's like all the missiles coming down, they're trying to get down on the island. And
Yes.
oh my God, I forgot how good that scene is. And the music in it is just so stress-inducing.
Most of the time, you don't really notice music unless you're listening out for it. And I think that's when it's done well, because it's there to aid the scene. Whereas we were talking about like some films, you know, it's quite obviously there just to like fill a void, like, you know, they've seen the scene and they think, oh, it's really empty. But like in The Incredibles, I think it hits the tone as well really well for like a family film, and adding the action and the suspense. Action films benefit so greatly from music, as the horror, that audio level gives you, either on the edge seat or heart racing, and that's what you want the person watching to be involved in that.
I think Marvel could learn a lot from the incredible soundtrack. You don't come out of the latest Captain America thinking, oh, do you remember that bit of music? Like you say, it's an oversaturation of it massively. The Incredibles 2 is so disappointing because
I don't think it's disappointing.
But it is because Brad Bird had a very specific idea for it, and then like a year before they, you know, it came out, he was like, shit, this idea just doesn't work, and they changed it at the last moment, so it ended up being this massively rushed bit of film.
For the amount of time people waited for it, I could see it being a disappointment, but I think as a standalone, it's okay.
It's not of the same caliber.
No, it isn't, unfortunately. I mean, Michael Giacchino also did the music for that, and I can't remember much about what the music in the second one was like. Like, I imagine it's very similar to the first one, but even then, there's not that one track that sticks in my mind or helps, you know, remind me of how good that film is, because it's not really there. But I guess you could kind of like jot that down to, I watched this film like a million times when I was younger, so I kind of, and I also played the game.
I haven't seen the film in it's got to be probably 6-7 years, and I can remember specific bits of the soundtrack, and I'm not a musical person.
I wanted to quickly make a note about what you were saying like a couple sentences ago, Jimbo, about the Marvel themes and how they all sound very, you know, forgettable. There was a video that was released, I think like 2014, 2015.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, it's called the Marvel Symphonic Universe.
Yeah.
And that's basically shows how forgettable some of the Marvel themes are, because they use that whole mentality of just putting stuff in the background.
I'm so glad that you brought this up, because I really wanted to talk about temp tracks, and it really comes into Emma's pick as well. James, you might as well explain what temp tracks is quickly.
When you're shooting a film and you haven't got the music finished yet, you use a temporary track, a temp track in this case, from another film to kind of get the point across. And because of that, sometimes the director or the person making the film gets a bit too attached to that bit of music. So they just ask the composer to be like, can you just make this sound like this? Yeah. And then you get into like copyright.
Yeah, it's used a lot in the editing process, so you can get your timings right for your editing, which makes sense. The only trouble is, you know, once you've started editing a sequence to those specific beats, you're basically stuck to what tempo you can use and that sort of thing. In the case of your film, Emma, the Gladiator soundtrack, ironically, you listen to the Gladiator soundtrack, you listen to Pirates of the Caribbean, they are not worlds apart, my friends. Eventually, it was fine because Hans Zimmer became the main composer on Pirates of the Caribbean from the second film, and he did the soundtrack for Gladiator. But Klaus Badelt, you took some inspiration, Sonny. Was that every frame of painting? Was it that?
Every frame of painting before he went off, and I think he started working for Criterion, if you can believe it.
Oh, really? I wonder what happened, because he stopped making YouTube videos, which sucked. Like, he was amazing.
Yeah, it was some of the best ones on the site, and then he had to stop because he, you know, actually got a job. But like, fair enough to him.
I'm a big fan in superhero films, which I think The Incredibles does really well, of when sort of every character has their own theme. That's where DC could learn. No, DC do this, and they do it wrong. Wonder Woman's theme in like the DC universe is a good example of.
Yeah, she has a good theme.
No, I think it's rubbish.
See, look, I'm
it's iconic, but it's rubbish.
I think like sometimes it's really good, and sometimes it's just not. Incredible. You've probably seen it. It's got great music. It helps it, you know, make it better than what it already is. It is truly incredible.
So moving now into my pick, which I picked Pirates of the Caribbean, more not specifically a film, but more the main theme. He's a pirate, which I'm pretty sure we all know the. So He's a Pirate is basically composed for the 2003 film Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. It appears throughout the entire Pirates of the Caribbean chronicle. So Hans Zimmer was initially asked to score the film, but he gave the assignment to Klaus Badelt, I think his name is, because he was working on another project at the time. However, Hans Zimmer did end up writing most of the themes, including He's a Pirate. So whilst Klaus was given most of the responsibility of the Pirates of the Caribbean Curse of the Black Pearl, Hans Zimmer did have a input. And when we were coming up with this idea, Noah was like, I bet Emma's going to pick a Hans Zimmer film. And I tried really hard not to. And I accidentally picked one because I was like, oh, what's the most potent soundtrack in my mind? And I was like, oh, the Caribbean one. It plays through certain parts of all the films. Like one, I'm thinking of one right now, and it's the one where Jack Sparrow and I think it's Orlando Bloom's character are on the wheel and they're all fighting as they go around, and that scene sticks in my mind because of the music. It's a pirate film, and I think they've hit the nail on the head with the use of instruments and the pacing, because it's action pirate film, all about the chase to get this ship back. And so the pacing of the music is important, and it's used so well, I think. And I don't think it's overused. I think there could have been an issue where it could have been overused because it's such an iconic sound and it's easy just to, throw it in, slot it in anywhere. But I think the scenes it is used in, like especially the scene when they're fighting on the wheel, is used so well.
What a way to completely capture an environment of a film with a piece of music. I don't know how a piece of music does that, but this does it.
You can say, oh, the Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack is good, and it's that one piece of music that everyone gravitates to. Obviously because it's used a lot, but it's such a great central theme to the whole adventure of Pirates of the Caribbean that I think just complements everything so well. I think doesn't it end the first film as well? Like he gets his ship back and then he closes the compass.
Yeah.
That's a great ending.
I can tell you why Hans Zimmer was busy. He was scoring The Last Samurai.
Oh, another really forgettable film. I've got 2 points to make on Pirates of the Caribbean, as the Americans would say. Number one, back on the subject of leitmotifs, Captain Jack's accordion-led theme is just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Have to have a theme sum up a character. I think heavily influenced by Cheyenne's theme from Once Upon a Time in the West. There you go, it's by the by. Also, I do think that early to mid-2000s, these big blockbusters, they knew, as we were talking about earlier with The Incredibles to some degree, they knew how to use music and how much that can add to a film. Modern day big budget action films do not have the same dedication and execution of their scores like films did back then. Like Pirates of the Caribbean will be watched and remembered in 10, 20, 30, 50 years time probably. And that music will still be as good as it was at the time. All right, who's going to watch like Gemini Man in even this year, let alone next year or in 10 years time, and go, wow.
Young face Will Smith.
Flip me, Ang Lee has fallen off the bandwagon, hasn't he? But honestly, name a recent film that had a really memorable soundtrack. I'd struggle.
I think the lovely heavy percussion is very, very much appreciated throughout the film. And I think even by itself, you listen to it and you just feel energized.
It's gym music. Every gym has that blaring at some point.
Exactly.
Not that
sometimes you just need to put it on. So, Jimmy, are you going to be putting on your quiz glasses?
Well, I don't think I'll bother this week because I'm not participating, I'm only hosting. But hold on to your butts, people. It's time for some music. Today is Name That Score. Very simply, I'm going to do it 10 seconds at a time, partly to avoid copyright and partly to keep things interesting. I'm going to play 10 seconds of a track from a notable film score. Just shout out an answer when you have it. You get one guess, and then once everyone else has answered, you can guess again. Yeah, put your hands up and I'll come to you, and I'll pause it when I see your hand. So I'm going to play 10 seconds exactly, and if you can't get it in 10 seconds, I'll play another 10 seconds. With the other screen up, I can't see if anyone's raising their hand, so you're going to have to say something. But I thought James might get this. Go on, James.
Oh, this is one of the only things I can play on piano, would you believe it?
Oh my god, really?
Yeah, this is the theme to Gremlins, and I don't know who it's by.
Ooh.
I'll take the 1 point.
Oh, I'll guess.
Yeah, you can guess now. Go ahead.
Go on.
John Williams?
No.
I could have a stab in the dark, actually.
Don't have a stab in the dark. It's a pretty big guy.
See, I was going to say Joe Dante, but he directed it, so obviously he's not that.
Joe. No.
Yeah, no, because my mind was on Gremlins. No, I can't.
Go on, Emma.
Jerry Goldsmith?
Oh my god! It is Jerry Goldsmith. What an amazing film. Some would say it should have been in our top 7 horror films pre-2000.
Yeah,
but sadly, I wasn't a part of that. Excellent. So, at the end of round 1, James and Emma are 1 point apiece.
All right.
Here's the next track.
I got it.
I can't even hear that.
I can.
It was like...
Go on.
It was Batman, in about 1980, whatever it came out. And it's Danny Elfman.
It is indeed. I typed in Danny Elfman to find a good Danny Elfman soundtrack to use in this quiz, and every Tim Burton film came up.
Yeah, he likes his Tim Burton.
Right then, James storms into lead with 3 points at the end of round 2. Next one. Go on, Noah.
Halloween, John Carpenter.
But yes, of course, Noah. Of course it is. So,
it is.
Scores are at the end of round 3. James 3, Noah 2, Emma 1. So it's all to play for. Coming up fast, it's the next track.
Oh, I know this film.
No, I don't know it.
Go on then, James.
I think it's Ghostbusters.
It is indeed. Who's it by?
Howard Shore, but I don't think it's Howard Shore.
It is not Howard Shore.
That was just a complete guess.
Any more for any more?
Quincy Jones.
Emma!
He's done soundtracks
I'm just
before.
going to go with my simple Jerry Goldsmith.
Very
Got me
good.
through last time.
Sadly not, guys. It was Elmer Bernstein.
Oh yeah.
Oh!
Of course.
Yes. Okay, next one.
Ah! I got it. I know those symbols anywhere, mate.
Go on, James.
Back to the Future by Alan Silvestri.
Oh, hey. I thought you would do very good at this, James. Wow, James is currently on 6. Now we're on 2. And we're on 1.
Oh, I got it again.
Go on, James.
I don't know who did it, but it's the theme to Psycho.
It is indeed.
Oh, I know it.
I think no one knows who
Go on,
did it, though.
It's Bernard Herrmann.
Yeah.
Very good. We're speeding along. Next one coming fast.
I got it.
I can't hear that.
James.
Is it The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly by Ennio Morricone?
How can you hear that?
They've been canoodling.
We haven't been.
Right, next one. Now I was straight in there. Go.
It's The Godfather.
Yeah, I'll take that.
By Mario Puzo.
No, you didn't get the composer right. Nino Rota.
Nino Rota. That name does ring a bell, I think.
Yes, indeed.
What a great soundtrack.
Straight to another blockbuster. You should all get this.
Oh wait, no, yeah. It's Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
But wait, which one do I pick?
I'm going next.
Yeah, I'll let Emma have a point. She probably
Go on, Emma.
Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, it was a Hans Zimmer one. It was indeed. Well done. I just realised. Never mind. You're gonna get these next three immediately. Here we go. Yes, James.
Is it The Incredibles by Michael Giacchino by any chance?
Yes.
Oh, what's prize?
Fantastic. I can't believe you got that. On to the next one.
I know.
Go on, Noah.
It's Thief.
It is.
Tangerine.
It is Tangerine.
Do I get a bonus point for beach scene?
It is indeed beach scene. It is the A side of the track though, so you didn't get the full name. So. Go on, James.
Is it by any chance Cannibal Holocaust?
I should have spaced these out. Yeah, it is.
This wasn't very clever.
The one that we actually know. Cannibal Holocaust by.
I only said his name about 8 times earlier.
Yeah, it's Rizzo someone.
Rizzo Lavaccini.
Close, both of you. Whoever gets it first gets it, so keep shouting them out.
Rizzo Lavaccini. Lavaccini.
Close.
Rizzo Rigatoni.
No, Clay Regazzoli, he's a Formula 1 driver in the 80s.
Rizzolini, no.
Rizzolini and Lavaccini.
I'm not going to give anybody the point for that. Ritz Ortolani.
Ritz Ortolani.
I said that. Come on, Jimmy.
You didn't. None of you said that. Okay. Right, that took you 3 seconds to get that one, by the way. Next one. So there's two left now, and this is where it gets a little bit trickier.
I think I can have a guess. Is it Once Upon a Time in the West?
No, it is not.
Western-y, sorry.
Go on, Emma.
Is it an Avengers film?
It is not. It is a go on, Noah.
RoboCop.
I nearly put RoboCop in this, but I didn't think anybody would get it, so I didn't bother. This is this is the hardest one on the list. This is a 1990s action film, the director of which was spoken about at length. Is an action film, historical action film, and the director was spoken about at length earlier.
Last of the Mohicans, is it?
The Last of the Mohicans.
Yay!
Any stabs at the composer?
Hans Zimmer.
It should be, but it's not.
Ennio Morricone.
Good guess. Good guesses all round. Trevor Jones.
Trevor.
Last one. Let me check the composer. Yes. Okay. Don't know.
Right, it's Beverly Hills Cop. The composer. Axel F. No. What's it?
That's the name of the character of the film.
Yeah.
The Crazy Frog.
The Crazy Frog.
I'm gonna. I take it none of you are gonna get it. It is by Harold Faltermeyer.
Harold Faltermeyer.
Oh, of course, Harold. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Harold.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of Name That Score. Would anyone like to guess who won?
James by.
James, I think.
James.
13 points. 14.
I make it 13. Yeah, James wins on 13 points to Noah's 8 to Emma's 2. Round of applause. Good effort all round. Tricky ones there, James. You can slip me that £20 in the post. Thank you. Any winners' thoughts?
Okay, so my winner's thoughts is, Jimmy, you're never getting your money.
Yeah, I flubbed the quiz for nothing.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you know when we post. Nice to be back. We have been struggling, hence we took a break. You guys continue to stay safe. We're just going to continue to muddle through. Bye.
Yeah, in a bit.
Trump.